This episode contains graphic descriptions of historical events. Please be aware of where and how you listen. Enjoy the show.
Hey everyone. It is great to have you all here and live. We are, if you give me 1 second, um, filming and going live for the Seabreezy, sorry, not the Seabreezy, on the Seabreezy Paints podcast, but we're actually doing this for the Emerald City Creatives. And so I just want to thank you all for joining us. Um, on the show tonight, we have Nahshon Joshua. They are an incredible artist that I got to meet, who's had a couple of their. That's a new one in the back. I'm gonna ask you about that one later. But has had a number of just amazing oil paintings, and has actually gotten me into wanting to go back to oil paintings after my,
Yes.
I feel like, decades-long war with oil paints. And so I'm excited to have you on, Nashon. Just some like behind the scenes things. We have both been collaborating and fighting to get technology to work. And I'm gonna say this, like I love it, Nashon, you put on your page saying, does anyone have any tech wizards? We don't need tech wizards. We have Alphabet. We don't need the wizard. Because the wizard lies. So something about Nashon is Nashon
Nashon.
graduated. Nashon, I am
Okay.
so sorry. Nashon?
Nashon.
I'm okay. I'm from the south where like Nashon or like Nay. I got you. Okay. So Nashon double concentrated in painting and
Sure.
printmaking while minoring in leadership studies. And this was all during COVID, right? Y'all remember where you were at during COVID? Were you doing that? Probably not. And then during the pandemic, you moved to
Yes.
Seattle?
So I graduated spring 2020, and most of the COVID shutdowns really started affecting us going into that spring semester. Like we had classes in December where we were hearing rumors about COVID and, people's concerns. And then it was like that first week back in January, all of our professors were like, try to make as much work as you can. We might have to shut down studios. We're not sure yet, but we didn't really get a for sure lockdown until I want to say like early March. So we had a little bit of time. And then, as
Okay.
for my senior year, it was not only do you need to clear out all of your stuff before spring break from your studios, but whatever work you've already made, that's pretty much going to be your BFA show. Yeah, so it
Wow.
was emotional. The
Okay.
world was on fire, losing loved ones. It wasn't the funnest of times, and it definitely affected the work that I was wanting to make. I was really ambitious that last year in college. I had this big series of like 7 foot by 4 foot oil paintings. It was this whole big thing. So I was already kind of biting off more than I could chew, and then for the floor to kind of drop out underneath you, and you're like, geez, I really wish I had had 2 more months to kind of grapple with like the end of my degree diploma. At that point, I had been in college for 7 years. I had messed up my first year of college, did community college for 2, and then K-State's art program was designed for 4, which is why I was able to double major and pick up a minor. I really just had to fill in the gaps that, math and English and all of those classes I had already done. Um, so then, yeah, the graduation was all online pretty much, and watching my name come up on a PowerPoint and trying to keep a straight face through it. And when it dawned on me that like my life kind of starts in a way, right? Like as an adult, I had
Yeah.
spent most of it in academia, so I hadn't really um, lived in a way. And I was like, I don't want to do that in Kansas. I've lived so much of my life in the middle of nowhere, and I wanted to see the rest of the United States. I had a really privileged life growing up, being in track and field and speech and debate teams. So I got to like travel a lot, mostly road trips, but I got to see a lot of the states, and I have family from all over the United States, and it was Seattle. I wasn't ready for New York or LA yet, and I had folks up here. So yeah, I moved in the summertime, and then the city was shut down.
That's insane. Okay. And Wow, that's insane. That's a lot to go through in such a short amount of time. I have to ask, you said that you had like a BFA plan. What was it going to be like if you got to go through with everything? Like in terms of like the group, I assume there's like a final
Yeah, so
show.
the shows were broken up into like 2 or 3 people, depending on how many pieces they had. Then in our, I forget what the name of the class was, but it was like a specific course that you took that kind of went over how you do shows, how you apply to things. It was kind of like a business professional course, you could say, that last semester. And my idealized show was 7 foot by 4 foot oil paintings. They were going to be 1 part Seven Deadly Sins, 1 part West African and Drinka symbols. But then they would be on a timeline from 1661, kind of at the start of the mid-Atlantic slave trade, going all the way into the future, skipping 101 years between each one of them. So you got to see the progression, in a sense, of the life of a Black person in America. And the difference, the spin that I was going to add to all of the crazy that was already there was that each one of these self portraits would be like a sci fantasy situation. So the first one was a were shark, because in my mind, all of the sharks that had moved from West Africa to the Caribbean were mostly due to the bodies that were being thrown off of the boats during the kidnapping and enslavement of Africans. And in my mind, I was like, wouldn't it be really, part of my French, badass if one of those enslaved individuals had been transformed into a were shark? Not a mermaid, but like a powerful being that could then sorry, that could be both justice or wrath, right? Like it's just this creature of
Yeah,
terror, but at the same time, it gets to free the slaves. And so then each one of them kind of had a different spin. The next one was a vampire and lust in 1762. You know, you're an enslaved individual who, in my case, if I was back then, I would have been queer. And so not only would I have probably been caught dilly-dallying in the fields, but having my phenotype, I know that being both queer and looking the way that I do would have put me in a situation where my body would have been used against me in ways that were sexual. So what if I had been a vampire, and then I could use all of that to not only
yeah,
free myself but others? You skip another 100 years in the future, and we get 1863. That's right around Emancipation Proclamation, and now the myth of Black people being lazy and degenerates and incapable of contributing to society, I felt like resonated with sloth a lot. And you see,
yeah.
the image that I was using was like a banjo player who has like tomatoes being thrown at him. And I could talk about this series for a while. So I would have had those 7 paintings. I had created a line of copperplate prints that were like busts of each one of them that would have gone with some poetry. It was going to be a whole thing. Um, yeah, I'm
Okay.
ranting. Sorry.
No, you're not. This is awesome. This is like the whole point.
Well,
And so I guess that kind of tackles the next part. I was going to say, you're, from what I've seen and experienced too, because I got to see your grimoires and your paintings. But you tend to focus on like figurative oil, and you're exploring the themes of blackness, queerness, fantasy, and spirituality. Um, and you're really creating, and I'll say this from having seen it, you have a unique color palette. It's very rich. When I had people walk into the gallery, they're like, who painted, like, is this acrylic? I'm like, no, that's
ah,
oil.
it's
That's oil.
oil.
Um,
I,
and
yeah, go ahead.
oh no, and I was gonna say the things that you hit on just now, where you're talking about the were shark, which it took me a minute to collect and click what you were saying, but a were shark, I love it. It's insane because we always hear about the werewolf, and we always hear about it being based in Europe, or like, and sometimes it comes here into U.S. and how it plays out, but we don't really get to see the were shark, or really like it as a mode of black healing. For example, I really got into Candyman, the latest movie that came out back in 2019, and that's when I first saw Candyman as as more of a way of expressing like black grief, black justice, being anti-exploitation. And I guess it kind of hit home because as an artist. But when you look at the were shark, it's kind of doing the same thing, and I like it a bit
Yeah.
more because it's coming from a place of like genuineness, right?
Because what do you mean
Um,
biologists have discovered that the oceans are permanently changed as a result of the mid-Atlantic slave trade? Like, what?
I gotta say, like, and it's there's grief in it too, but like our ancestors changed
Yeah.
the world, like literally.
And oftentimes not
um,
even by choice.
yeah, and it's I don't think there's been time to truly be able to grieve that and really be able to create and heal from it. I mean, I know there has, like, we have so many different things, but at the same time, we're trying to do that while also still trying to fight the same fight, and carry on that legacy. And seeing you put that into art and creative and explore those, um, I feel like that's where the healing can really
Yeah.
start, and us kind of create that table that I feel like everyone has collectively been working towards. Especially, and I don't want to rant myself, but especially when you mentioned looking at your queerness within, um, just during the slave trade, like if you were there. That still, I'm not sure if you read the book, and for those of you listening, I encourage you to read the book, but just take some time, read it slow. But there's this book called The Delectable Negro.
Ooh, I need a pen.
Yeah,
Um,
and I'll send it to
okay.
you. Um, but it's um, it's a book that wasn't what I was expecting. Actually, I'm not going to spell live on here because I'm not going to put my business out there. I need the spelling help. But it's called The Delectable Negro.
Not you spelling
Right?
phonics.
Look, you can't have it all. You can't have. Look, I did good with phonics, but phonics did not cover delectable.
You know what? I want to say it was one of the spelling bees. I got the like benefit or something, and I said there was two I's instead of two E's. So I get it. I
Yeah,
and most people who
like
I text with frequently, they know I'm a terrible speller.
yeah,
Sorry.
and not to take us too far on a tangent, I wish I was a better speller. I had this friend in
Okay.
fourth grade, and she was in the spelling bee, and she made it all the way to the end, and she lost on the word potato. Here's
You
the thing:
said
she lost
supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
on
That's
the
the word you said. She messed up on.
exactly. Yeah, no, she messed up on potato, and she got off the stage, and our teacher, like the coach, was like, "You know that word? Why'd you mess up?" She's like, "I was tired. Like we've been standing up there all day. I was done." I was like, "Oh." Like I would have loved to be able to be up there and spell
Right.
potato because that's the
Yeah.
thing for me. But she's like, I know how to spell. Give me a word. I'll spell it for you. I don't need this. I already have all my awards and all the things I need. But to get back into the Delectable Negro, and I'm glad we did that because it's kind of a heavy subject, but it explores the consumption of the black body during slavery. And it's both literal and metaphorical. Literal in a sense that you do have instances where black slaves were
Yeah.
cannibalized. But then you also have instances in where their bodies were used for sex, for procreation,
For furniture.
as yeah, for furniture. And so you touching on that too, it's something that I feel like a lot of people in the U.S. are like, we didn't know, this is a shock. And I'm like, really? Because you have antiques passed down for your ancestors. You never thought to look inside?
Also, I find it really frustrating when I hear white audiences talk about their lack of knowledge that the black body was something that was cannibalized when we have Netflix shows about Jeffrey Dahmer, right? Like he's like a modern day
Yes,
example of not only the power, but the practice of eating black bodies. Why do you think that would be something that slave owners would have never considered, or that people who didn't even see us as people wouldn't have done just to terrorize us, right? Like not even because they enjoyed it,
yeah,
right? Like how they used to feed our babies to alligators. What are you talking about, right? Like the kind of
yeah,
it's bewildering, which is why I put it in my work, which is why I feel like using and utilizing fantasy and sci-fi Sinners, I think, is a wonderful example of that, where you're able to take
yeah,
the concepts of horror or pure bliss in a way, um, to kind of grapple with the harsher, darker truths of being Black in America. That it is simultaneously a mind fuck, that you can watch your own community create everything that makes a nation and simultaneously be seen as the worst of the worst around the world, right? Like African folks
yeah,
hate black people. for no reason, right? Like,
And that's the thing. I think it's like I think it's repairing and that relationship's
true.
improving. But I think that's only because now that we have technology, we can see what each other's going through globally, and
We
it's
can
like
shape our own narratives, and we're
it,
not reduced to what BBC News or Fox is telling the
mhm,
rest of the world.
exactly. And I think that's man, that's been so hard for me because there's a podcast I listen to. It's an art podcast, and as I listen to what they say and how they talk about indigenous peoples in their homelands around the world, there's I know it's not intentional because they even try and call it out when they can, but there is still that colonial aspect to it. I'll say. So yeah, no. Anyways, what I want to bring it back to you though.
But
No,
I
no,
think
it's
this is
okay. You
what
can.
I want my work to do. I want it to generate conversation with
Yeah,
folks. I want the color palette to draw your eye in, and then you have to sit with what I give you. You know, whether it's
yeah,
painting of Vishnu, or I know you wanted to talk about my other pieces eventually, but I just,
uh-huh,
I love oil. There's a richness to it that acrylics just can't beat. I'm sorry. I will start a
yeah,
painting in acrylic, just to get the ball rolling. But when it's time to really get a red or like a good blue, or, a deep olive that is light enough for your eye to recognize that it's olive, but it's rich and saturated enough that yeah.
yeah. And so that's the thing. I love acrylic. It's gotten me so far, but I am realizing it's
Yeah.
time. It's time. Yeah, especially if I want the colors to like still be just as bright and vibrant as when I painted it. Um, don't get me wrong, like I spend a lot of time trying to keep them bright and vivid with all the protective layers, but it's not happening.
It'll do that.
Oil. She's
She's
that
that
girl. She's
girl. She
been that
really
girl. She'll
is.
forever be that girl.
Because I know with some of the
Um,
more expensive acrylics, you are able to still maintain the vibrancy, but you get like the quick drying. And in my mind, at
yeah,
that point, I might as well just buy a medium to low grade oil paint, right? Like if I'm going to be paying about the same price, because you can cheat the drying time with oil with a little bit of Gamsol and a little bit of Calcid. You just, you get your ratios right, and you can have it dry
yeah.
honestly within an hour or two if you really, if you're pushing the amount of medium to pigment. But if you want something that's touch dry in 24 hours, you can get that.
So and that's the thing. I didn't want to bring it up on the podcast because I was like, I know you have your own special mixture.
Oh, it's not like a secret recipe or
And
anything.
oh, okay, great. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure. I was like, I don't want to put your tools of the trade out
Absolutely not.
there. Um,
I would
but
recommend folks who are getting into oil paint to tone your canvas with your acrylic color of choice, diluted with some water. Get your base sketch in, or whatever your composition is going to be, or maybe, your main light source. I would still use a solitary color for these early stages, whether it's a really vibrant burnt sienna or a cool blue that will help the later on glow and effect, because all of that color is kind of going to bleed through just a little bit. Or you can just leave it exposed depending on how you paint. After you've gotten that base down, the first few layers of oil paint, you're going to mostly want to use Gamsol. I would say like 80% Gamsol to 20% Galkid. Gamsol is like the thinnest alcohol you could imagine. If you poured a little Gamsol out on a table, it'll be gone and evaporated within a minute, probably less than that. It's really as it dries, it heats up so much so that in print shops, like printmaking shops for woodcut and copperplate etching, there have been a lot of fires that have happened because rags that are soaked in Gamsol are like put into a tin together. And then as the Gamsol is evaporating, it heats up the rags, and then the whole shop is. So Gamsol is powerful in that way that it can dry really quickly. But you got to be careful with it. I would definitely recommend that you have an open window, that um, any substances that you're using to wipe off brush marks, that you let that hang dry overnight. And then as you continue to paint, you will shift the ratio. So you're starting like 80-20 at the beginning, and then by the time you get to the end of the painting, you're using almost all Galkid and, maybe just the paint itself. Usually your whitest whites, will be pretty much just straight up out of the tube by the time you get to the end of the painting. Um, and that's it. Kind of do the scene as you go. I would recommend getting. This is a Gamthol that I have. I just go to Blick.
Okay.
This Gamsol, I got this at the beginning of last summer, and you don't need a lot of it because it's really thin too. So a couple of droplets will allow you to cover a lot of canvas.
I
Yeah.
love it. But also, and I guess this is where I'm going to start talking about your fashion and the bust down and everything else because I don't think I have. The fact that you're an oil painter and the quality of the things that you do, for those of you who have not met Nashon in person, Nashon, in person, the aesthetic, the fashion is just it's. I think the second time I met you, you had on these boots, and this person was just walking by and came in to compliment you on the boots. I'm not sure if you remember that. And then,
I'm sorry. Not in. Yeah.
and then at the second opening, you showed up in a suit, and I'm like, oh wait, are you like just getting off work? Are you headed somewhere? And you're like, oh no, I'm here for the opening. I'm like, oh, I could probably do a little bit more.
No.
No, I say that justly, but like just you as an artist, it's not just something that is on the canvas. It's like literally in the aesthetic and what you do. Point being, I'm looking at the nails also. Exactly. I was just like as you show it, like, as you show off the Gamsol, I'm like, oh, look at the nails. So yeah. Anyways, I'm also just equally a fan of the style and the fashion.
Thank you. I feel like it all feeds itself. I grew up in a household that my mama was always dressed right. She always would gorgeous. So the family that I had around me, they were really stylish. My mom had a red purse at one point, if that gives you any, right? Like
Okay.
there was an intentionality of leaving the house, right? Both as folks who are fair skinned in the middle of Kansas, and wanting to, seem professional or business ready or, just like you had a sense of self in a way. And a lot of my upbringing was in that like early 2000 teens where like if you wanted to go clubbing, everyone was like dressed up in a sweater vest type moment,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I mean, high school, everyone was always, we were wearing, slacks that had to be pressed. And, if it wasn't, jeans or whatever we were wearing. And as I've grown up, I kind of retained some of that sense of like, it doesn't matter how expensive the clothing is, go thrifting. Find a good color, find a good fit, find an interesting pattern or texture because it feeds your energy. When I leave the house at the beginning of the day, I want to have like a speed boost. I played Sonic a lot growing up, and when he hits those little ramps, and fashion does that for me every time. It's gonna give me an extra sense of like creative energy, and then the nails are exactly the same. It's kind of I don't know when I'm filled with doubt about my skill or I feel like I've been lazy in my work in one way or another. Literally having art on my fingertips is a charge. It's just right there.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I wanted to ask, like, and then I could be wrong. This might be blowing up your spot, and so you don't have to answer this. But what thrift shop do you recommend?
All of them. I honestly, I will sing my praises to Goodwill. I have found. Have you seen me in that coat yet? The white one.
I've seen you in a coat. I'm not sure if it's the white
There's
one.
this coat that reminds me a lot of like Electra Abundance. I got it at Goodwill for like $60. Yeah.
Wait, that's my thing with Goodwill. Like these Goodwill prices nowadays are not the Goodwill
From
prices
the past,
of my childhood.
but the coat is definitely more than $60. So it's one of those like if you want to get really good bases, Goodwill. If you want to get an amazing selection of accessories, whether they be ties or bandanas, it's gonna be Goodwill. You need some cool funky socks, Goodwill's probably got it. And then Crossroads over on Broadway has done me well. Magpie has been really good for me too. And then I asked my friends, like, hey, where you go shop? Where'd you get that at? I have noticed that because my closet ranges that sometimes strangers will give me items because they're like, I know that you'll appreciate
Mhm.
this, or your sense of style is one, I think you can do something with this. So I've just gotten,
That's
yeah, go ahead.
that's what you told me where you got the
Yeah, the
boots. Is
leopard boots.
someone said,
Someone just
"Hey,
gave me those.
yeah, leopard boots." Yeah, yeah. Those were amazing. I have not forgotten those. Yeah, just the
Well, it was
texture.
crazy
Yeah.
because it was at one of my jobs. There was a gentleman who came in and he was wearing them one day. I was like, "Those boots are amazing," and he was like, "Honestly, I'm tired of them. What's your shoe size?" And I was like, "Oh, wait. I mean, you're wearing them, so I'm not gonna put them on. But like 12, 11?" He was like, "Oh yeah, they'll fit you." Okay, blessing. Like I'm
Okay.
not. That's the story of the shoes. But it
Yeah.
I definitely feel like I have a few ancestors who were seamstresses and fashionistas, so I feel like they've kind of blessed my selection picking.
And now I had you in my art show homage, and so just to pay respect to the ancestors, tell me a little bit more about that. Like, were you, because like my family is also from the South, so were you all always rooted in Nebraska? Did they have like you mentioned like they were big with looks and fashions. Like, was that their thing? Like, tell me a little bit more about that,
um,
if you don't
yeah,
mind.
yeah. It was Kansas. I'm from Kansas City, Kansas. I went to Sumner Academy of Arts and Sciences. It was on the corner of, what was that, like Fifth? It was like downtown. So imagine a high school on like Third and Pine. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Just like in the heart of the
Okay.
city. You've got moms who are selling you elotes and tamales right outside of your high school, and you get to see the homeless population right there too. So it was just kind of a plug-in into the city when you're coming into school or leaving
Yeah.
it. So there was that aspect of being able to see fashion around you. But honestly, my mama just dressed down. Like I can't
I
front.
love it.
She was stylish. Yeah, I'm like flabbergasted thinking about like some of the looks I've seen her do over the years. But we were also, I grew up in a really Christian household, and so a lot of my
Hmm.
Wednesdays, my Saturdays, my Sundays, we were at the church, and people were dressing down for church.
Hmm.
I mean, it was a little bit of
Yeah.
Kojic, a little bit of Baptist. We were non-denominational, but like I think our pastor and his wife were from Louisiana originally. So there was just this air of when you leave the house, everything that you put on needs to speak to the family name in a way. Um,
Hmm.
and for better or for worse, I haven't let go of that. There's just something about,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, like I'm not doing all of this every day, but it's nice to be able to open my closet doors and be like, we can do that. We can pull that together for something important, right? Something that we really care about, whether it's our pop-up event or just going to work one day.
Yeah, I will say I do love that you talked about, I have to put something on because it has to represent like the family, because that's something that I don't feel like a lot of people have. It might be a Black culture thing, it might be like a southeastern Black culture thing, but like that's how I grew up too.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you wearing? You got to look put together. I'll be honest, my fashion sense is a lot like my mom's because that's who I latched onto. And again, part of it's because we had to dress up. We were there Sunday, Monday,
Oof.
Wednesday, Thursday, because we had
Yeah.
usher for
Come on. Choir practice
um
on Saturday morning, youth group Wednesday night. Yeah.
yeah. So my siblings, they all sing, so they had choir practice
Okay.
Saturday mornings, which is crazy that you also. I feel like Black people we have it all and sing. And then I was Thursdays because I had usher board because I was in the back just letting people in, and yeah.
You have the gloves too.
So yes, I had the
Yeah.
gloves. I don't see it on me. It's a little book, but I still have my booklet on how to be an
That's
usher, and I've
crazy.
just kept it all this
Did
years
you have to
for like,
buy the
yeah,
booklet?
just for sentimental reasons. No, I borrowed it and just forgot to return it. I was a
Oh.
teenager. Like, it was gonna get lost. That's the liability. So, but that's awesome. So what I wanted to do, as we kind of head into the second half of this and like kind of wrap it, I want to start off by asking, as an artist, um, what word describes where you're at right now, like in this moment?
In this moment,
Hmm.
hurdling is the best way that I
Oh.
can describe it. I hurdled for a while, and there's something about, it's not the beginning of the race, it's not the middle of the race or the end of it. It's like that. It's like that first or second hurdle that you hit, like after you've gotten over the first one, and there's like an in-between moment where your footsteps have to change. because from the blocks to that first hurdle, especially if you're running like the 110 or the 400-meter hurdle, you want to get in about like 13 steps. And then for the 110 hurdle, it's 3 steps between each one. So it's a faster pace, it's a faster turnover, like your breathing has to adjust, right? Because your heart rate has been going, but you've mostly been stationary, and then you have to just kind of sit in it. I don't know how to describe that any better. Yeah.
You have to find your pocket as a runner and just
Yeah, you're
stick
just
in
like in
it
a
and just
pocket now.
keep that focus. Yeah.
And I've been really blessed since last summer to now to be presented some opportunities to create work, as well as my own work kind of blossoming and being able to do more shows. So I'm in it now. Like there's no I can't not. So it feels like I'm hurdling. It feels like I've got deadlines to hit. You know, I dream really big. I get real ambitious, and I feel like even if I don't hit the idealized BFA show with the 7 gigantic paintings, right? There's the
Wait, did you ever do those paintings? Did you ever do those
I never
paintings?
finished them. I've sliced them in half, and they've become something else. But the push nonetheless, the drive, I guess, the delusion of being able to do more, I feel like it forces me to be more creative. It forces me to think outside of the box. It forces me to not only rely on my skills, but realize where I'm, part of my language, where I'm fucking lacking, or, whether it's anatomy or composition, just sitting down with the materials and learning how to mix better colors, or like to mix the colors better. So that way I'm not as wasteful, or just being more confident in my actual like brush strokes and how tight I want things to be or how loose I want them to be. Dreaming big, it just forces me to hurdle. It forces me to just be in it and just
Yeah.
go for it, right? I think too, it has allowed me to kind of step away from marinating too long on just one piece. I really like working in bodies of work. 3 or more is my preferred rhythm, I guess, because that way if I get too tired or I feel like I'm too focused on one, well, I got 2 babies who are waiting on me. I have to pivot. And that kind of constant change up, it keeps me on my toes. So yeah,
I
right
love it.
now I'm hurdling.
Nice.
I'm in the pocket.
And I don't think I've ever told anyone this. I don't even think I've told. I used to do track and field
What do you do?
back in. So I emphasis on the field side of things, where I did like the discus and
Yeah.
the shot put. But we had to train with the track people, right? And so I did have to do the hurdles. I still had to do all the sprints, all the running, even though I was just like, wait, my thing is just to build upper body strength and lower body strength and just explode. And then so like elementary school through middle school through like freshman sophomore year of high school, I would dabble in like track and field and do all the hurdles and stuff. So as soon as you said like you have to hit the first hurdle and you have to hit the next one, I was like, I remember I was done after like 3 or 4 hurdles. I don't. Yeah, it was insane. I don't know how younger me, because I was just like, I wasn't even trained to do it. They just told me to go, and yeah, me now.
I mean, you and me
Done.
both, if I'm being honest. Because it requires, and granted, in high school, I shot up really fast. So I'm mostly legs. Like my waist is really high in my body. And they were like, well, you need to hurdle. We just get your flexibility up and get enough speed going in you. You can clear those. But
It's insane. It's insane to hear that though, because as a high schooler, you're like, okay, cool. Me at my age, I'm like, no,
absolutely
nah,
not.
just get my flexibility up.
What do you mean? So it's like, so I'm a gymnast now? Like, what's happening? Yeah, everyone else is sprinting and you got me over here doing leg lifts for 30 minutes. Like, what is going on?
But that's really cool. So yeah, but getting back into it, you said that you create in spurts of 3, and I definitely saw that with the paintings that were in the gallery. I'm even seeing some of that happen on the wall behind you. But one of the series of paintings that really stood out to me is you have this werewolf. You have this one. I used it for the art for the show, where it's like hands touching. But you've taken the canvas, you've ripped it to shreds, and then you've sewn it back up, which is insane. Could you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes. So I made 7 paintings during quarantine. They were the Remember Our Protector series. I wanted to write love letters to different cultures around the world because the whole world was affected at the time. And I don't know, I was absorbing a lot of Japanese pottery and just like the broken kintsugi moment, and then putting the pottery back together with gold lacquer, and I was like, "That is insane," for one, and I was trying to figure out a way that I could
Yeah,
maybe do that with the paintings because I wanted to I don't know, I wanted the work to feel not necessarily that it was fragile in a way, but I don't know, we've all seen a heist movie where the robbers go in and rip the painting out with a knife and they just kinda yank it off of the actual frame. So I
yes,
know that there's
hmm
a agileness to it, yeah, I guess that's the best word to use, to
yeah,
actual because it's fabric, you can cut it up. And I was thinking, if I could rip these apart and somehow figure out a way to put them back together, with gold something, then it'll feel right. I don't know. Like it wasn't
mhm,
I wasn't searching after like a certain aesthetic with them. I really just wanted to experiment with the surface because I hadn't done that yet. I hadn't seen anybody really do that. I've seen folks do like using thread in a way that was like them weaving a texture or pattern or like I've seen there's I forget her name, but she uses canvas, but then she'll stitch portraits. Like the whole thing is made out of thread when you get really close to it, and it's just layers and layers
yeah,
of stitch. So I was like, it's not that. I really wanted to feel like these are like jagged pieces that are kind of sewn back together, and I landed on that. And I don't know if I'll do it again, but I definitely loved it. It was heart wrenching for sure. Like, 'cause I completely
yeah,
finished them. I varnished them, signed them, and everything. And I couldn't face the painting while I did it. I had to turn the canvases around, which added a little level of chaos to them because then it was just shape, right? Like, I think this shape is kind of interesting, and I don't know where exactly the cuts are going to hit. So sometimes the cuts are through the main face of the portraits or through the sides. There were times where I realized I was cutting pieces too small. And some of them I used gold thread, and other times I used gold wire. And I realized that the
yeah,
wire, though it's visually really stimulating in a way that the thread isn't, I did not have the skill to like really manipulate the wire to get it as flat or as even or consistent as the stitching was. And then I just kind of had to leave it be. I was like, well, I did it. It's back together and I can put it on the frame now. So there was a lot of play and experimentation with it in post that I'm
yeah,
really grateful for because the series came out of trauma. It came out of frustration and anger, and I really wanted to make something that I don't know. I felt like it was my BFA show that wasn't my BFA show in a way, right? Like it was this
yeah,
cohesive body of work where I was experimenting with dynamic color palettes and gold leaf in a way that I had really wanted to for the BFA show. And I was like, I gotta do something extra with it. I've got to do something more. And the kintsugi
yeah.
it was like an earworm. I couldn't let it go.
And I want to throw it out there. I think I saw them on your website, right? It's like some of the pictures were up
Yes.
there.
Yeah, yeah. All
Okay,
almost yeah, everything. Just about all of my work, except for these three that I'm working on now, is on my website, nashon.joshua. My first name is Nahshon. It's almost the same thing forwards and backwards. Um,
yeah. And I do have a little clip on below that people can click on, and it'll take them right to the
oh, thank
website
you.
for you all. Yeah. And so yeah, I loved your paintings because, and I will get into the grimmery of it all, but it felt like I was a child again looking at like one of the fairy tale books, and it was just so rich, and it was really because it pulls you in because you want to look at all the stitching. It feels like you're being brought in on a little secret because I can see the work that went into the stitching and the craftsmanship beyond just the painting itself. And so when I was in the gallery by myself when other people weren't around, I was in your painting space looking at
Crazy.
the sketches. And I think what complements it so well is your grimoires because it's that same book, it's that same reflection. And the other thing that stands out is you created these during
Yeah.
COVID. And so you still engaged in play during a time where most people are like I know me where I was in COVID, I was like locking down, trying to lock in and like survive, not be around anybody, but then also medicating and trying to take care of myself.
Oh, don't get. I
like
was medicated
profession-wise and
too.
everything else. But to be going through all of that and still say, I'm gonna be a creative, I'm gonna show up, and on top of that, I am going to play and take risks with the art. I mean, I love it. I love
Thank you.
it. I love every
It
minute of it.
definitely. I know you keep bringing up the grimoires. I mean, they're my little art journals. You know,
Yeah.
the play.
If you could show them off a little bit, because like again, the covers of them, the artwork inside of them is just
So they started from the figure drawing class that I took. It was like figure drawing 2, I want to say. And the professor made it mandatory that we had a sketchbook and we did like 10 pages in them. She was like, I don't care what materials you use. I don't care how rendered the figures are. You just got to give me 10 figures. And the first 10 pages, I need to do like a video shot of all of these, but it was like, just like crazy faces. They're just abstract. You get some that are nice, some that are like really wonky.
oh wait, the one in the corner looked a little like well, I know I didn't blink on the name. Waiting to Exhale.
Yeah. Honestly, I pulled a lot of these faces off of Pinterest, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
But then, just like shots from movies and men because men,
Yeah, because men.
just play. Yeah, this is like
I love
this
that.
is crayon and color pencil and marker. And then just the practice of just returning to the art. I guess I should
Oh, that's
just like
amazing.
return to the form, return to the doodle of it, and I
Yeah.
think one of the things that I love most about these journals is there's no timeline, there's no deadline, there's no, after the class was over, there wasn't any rush for me to complete these. And so I could usually I'll take like a year or almost 2 years, depending, uh, to fill one up. And not every page is art, but some of them really turn out real nice.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. And okay, that looks like ink and crayon, or?
This is mostly color pencil. Yeah, so there's like
Wow.
a bleed
Okay.
through of this guy on the back as the
Okay.
base. And I was like, ooh, because there's like a lot of, I don't know if you can see, but there's like dots of like where the ink from the marker kind of came
Okay.
through. Um
And I'm also looking at like the angle. So I guess it kind of goes back to that first sketch I said. It reminds me of Waiting to Exhale. It's Angela Bassett, the jawline, the
yeah. Just like
cheekbones.
a good
Yeah,
line.
but like your paintings, like they have angles. Like it is angled out, and like I love it too because it's like this richness of humanity, but also like it's kind of fighting the conformity of like what's being expected. That's my interpretation, but yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful cover
And
too.
then just line. So this one I made during my move, like that graduation to Seattle. It's from March 26, 2020 to March 14th, 2021. And then this whole thing is just lines. Just me bored. It's quarantine. What you gotta
I
do?
love it.
Nothing. We gonna watch TV, maybe smoke a little weed, get a nice adult beverage, and kind of zen out. This was my therapy. This was my my boredom in a lot of ways. This is just ink, right? This is just a blue pen. Um, there were definitely moments where like I felt like I was manic. Like I'm a crazy person for just
Mhm.
drawing all of these lines over and over and over again. What's this?
Yeah.
Aha, a flip. And so then this whole book is filled with drawings like that. So there was one, all of the figure drawing. If there's any, let me show you my favorite one from this.
Which I was going to ask, I know they have different figure drawing classes around Seattle. Do you get a chance to go to any of them? Or?
I have not yet. But I do plan, I hope to, I don't know, maybe teach a figure drawing class. I did this at a bar. There's like a sponge because someone had spilled something on the bar and had gotten over the thing. And I was like, I'll just try to do a thing and make it work. This was New Year's.
Okay.
Yeah, my promise to never let go of art. So I did this one, then this one, and this one was the one where I was like, I'm gonna call these grimoires instead of just being like art journals. Add a little magic to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. You've got like, I tried to do little sketches, one per day, little small moments. And I was
Yeah.
working at restaurants, so I have like notes from the other servers and like little sketches from them in here. And then I'll have like big
Wait,
moments like
what?
this where I can get like a really cool spread.
Love it. So I have to ask because I've worked in restaurants too. What restaurant? What was the experience?
There was this Indian restaurant over in Fremont. It's called Misha. I was both
Okay.
server, a little bartender, but I really like working in the window, that like in between the kitchen and the front of house. And on the slower days, I had enough space to do a little drawing with a little pen and ink, or I think this was like the dissociation for me. Just to keep the practice going, because they wouldn't allow you to be on your phone. But if my book is, sanitized and my pen is sanitized and I'm wearing gloves, and they were like, have at it. So it definitely gave me an
Okay.
opportunity to just play with forms and hair
Beautiful.
texture, and yeah, there's a lot of good.
Which
Yeah, I need to be
I'm
really,
looking
really
at that
good.
painting behind you, and I love what you do with hair texture.
Just a crazy little moment. Oh, so I made this spread before I got my two cats because I was like, I really want two cats, and I feel like I summoned them. I have Mr. Whiskers here and Lady Huntress. Initially, I had drawn just like the shapes of the cats themselves. I didn't have like all of the little details
Yeah.
of them, but I knew I was gonna get two. I didn't know when I was gonna get two. And then our one of the ladies who worked in the kitchen, her cat got pregnant, and she was like, "I heard you've been talking about wanting cats. Yada 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 yada. You need to come get two." I was like, "Sure enough." And it was that moment where I realized, in some esoteric way, that art is magical. That you can preserve the past on a page, or you can summon the future if you're really careful. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And again, I love. Man, I'm enjoying this podcast so like this episode so much because going back to what you said at the beginning, in terms of just black bodies and um, just us coming through the Atlantic and how it literally changed the Earth. Being able to see your grimoires and the fact that our artwork, our prayers, our wishes, our manifestations it really has created where we're at now. It just kind of goes back to show the power of black imagination, like the black body itself.
Yeah, because
So yeah,
if the world is designed to kill me, to devalue who I am as a person, to throw me into some corner and lock me away and erase me from the annals of history, then I'm going to make so much fucking work that you're not going to be able
hmm
to forget me or individuals like me. And so many black folks have done that
yeah,
before. So many queer black folks have done that before, where they just started making work, and you couldn't avoid it. You couldn't dismiss it. It was so poignant, it was so raw, and I really hope that the work that I'm making now and will continue to make kind of resonates in that way, that it encourages people
yeah,
to play. It encourages them to go and educate themselves about the past, because I don't know everything about everything, but the little that I do know, yeah, it's gonna be in the work, babe.
yeah. I was gonna say I don't know everything about everything, but the little I do know is enough to make me
That
mad.
it's enough to make you like scream into a pillow and cry for hours, and then you're just like, okay, yeah. So
Yeah,
Emmett Till was like a child who barely
yeah,
knew what puberty was before all of those horrors happened to him. What life could he have had? What songs could he have written, or poems that he could have created or just heard, right? Like I think there's pressure I feel sometimes on myself, and I know that I put on myself, of like this need to make, to make, to make, to make, to make, while I also feel like I'm missing out on all of the stuff that everyone else is making, because everyone is making so much at the same time.
yeah, yeah. And I'll be honest, I totally resonate with that. I am in a place right now, kind of going back to your hurdles, where I was like, I can slow down and take time to like watch what everyone else is making, and like this is what sparked the podcast, and like get a chance like for everyone to come together
Yeah,
and talk. Because when we're artists and we're creating, we're either listening to music or we're listening to a
yeah.
podcast, and so this is a chance for everyone to like talk and see what everyone else is doing. Um, and I hit my step 2. I hit 3, and I was like, oh no, the next hurdle is
Right
up.
there.
And I was like, I gotta leave. And now I'm back into it. I have some other projects going, and it's insane. I really love the fact that you brought up the track and field example. Before we get you out of here, there's 2 things. One, I want to talk about what you see happening in the art scene. I know that you work with Arte Noir. And then you're plugged into a couple of other galleries. So I wanted to find out a little bit more about that.
Shout out to Art Noir. Shout out to Art Noir. Shout out to Art
Yes.
Noir. Shout out to Art Noir. So I started working there June 2024, 2023. No, it's been 2 months and change, or 2 years and change, since I've worked there. And one of my biggest fears about moving to Seattle was that I wasn't going to have much of a Black community, because I had moved from the community that I knew in Kansas. And I also feared that I was going to really struggle getting plugged in into the art scene. And so, I had been working jobs and making my way through life. Art Noir decided to bring me on the team. Shout out to Auntie Jazz, Auntie Viv, Marky Mark, if you get to watch this. Shout out to Lauren, the whole gang, everybody. It is a blessing and it is a joy. It's like, I don't know, it's my favorite part of my day, if I'm being quite honest, to go to a store that is just surrounded by Black art, whether it's jewelry or locally made books or there's so much. There's candles that we have in there. Right now we have our second national call and our first 3 exhibition for clay work. And it's just Black clay. And you have this range of figurative to abstract to like conceptual pieces. There's one piece where it's like different clay cups that are on a wall, but they're shaped in a way that evokes like old decoded messages. And so it's pottery, but it's like, it's not at the same time, and all of our exhibitions are like that. We've had textiles, we've had full paintings, we've had opera singers come in and do performances for us. Like there's so much beautiful creativity in that space. And so to just be there marinating in it 5 days a week is, yeah.
Okay. There's something I need to. I'm gonna talk to you about it after, because there's this idea I've had about clay work, and just to hear that they're doing a Black clay exhibition there is that's amazing. But I don't want to put it out there for people to hear, so I'll tell you about it later. But that's also that sounds amazing, because where I came from, I'm from Bakersfield, and I know we had, like, when we had Black arts, I know we had it there, but it was always like rooted in the church. Like I even have a cousin who is a playwright, and I got to she went on tour between the Black churches to put on this play. I got to join in with my dad, but in terms of seeing like this is a dedicated Black gallery, I didn't really get a chance to see that. And then, like you, coming to Seattle, I'm like, okay, I know where to find Black people in Bakersfield, because I'm related to most of them. If not, our families go way back because we all came over the same time. But when I came to Seattle, it took me doing a lot just to find Black community. Not, I think only because I didn't know where to look. And then I hear about Art Noir.
Yeah, the E is silent.
The Langston, the Langston and everything else, and I'm like, wait, all this has been here this entire time. And so it's amazing, and it's a blessing to hear. I don't know who it was, but I had someone from Art Noir come into the gallery, and like give me this compliment on like it being there, and like telling me to go up and check out Art Noir. And now that it's closed, like now that I've closed the gallery, I actually have time to go and check out.
Yo, why haven't you come in yet?
It's the end of the month. I am just closing up. I just closed. I just finished all the closing stuff like 2 weeks ago, and also burnout. I'm now at a place where I can come up for air. Like this, again, going back to the hurdle, I've just looked up and I'm like, oh, the next hurdle's here, and that's getting out there. So yeah, that's the only reason why I haven't been in yet. Is like I'm just now.
I'm gonna hold it to you.
No, hold it to me. Hold it to me. And then finally, like the last question, and I'm gonna let you get out of here. And this is what I ask everyone, all the artists, is what song summarizes your art practice?
You said what song? What song summarizes my art practice?
Or songs, plural. I'll let you do. Plural.
I like songs that are really a confidence boost, an ego boost when I'm going into painting. And there's this song by Durand. It's called Mango Butter, and it's like, I don't need to sing all the lyrics. Go look it up. Mango Butter, and it's very affirmative. It's very like, I'm that nigga, I'm that bitch. Like I fucking got it. And as we were talking earlier about just like the hurdling, it's just like it's right there. I don't have space in my creative practice for doubt anymore. I have people who are depending on me to create for them, as well as to create for myself. And I have to go at it. So I have to be both that nigga and that bitch. I just have to. Yeah.
So real right now. Yes.
Because I definitely feel, I don't know, I always feel like I'm not doing enough. I don't know why, but
Mhm.
I feel like because things shifted for me last spring. I was working double jobs, and there was an incident that allowed me to really just focus on art and art noir during the day. And I found that because I had time to invest in applying to shows and going to see other people's shows, that there was just like this added energy overall to my life. And I've been really struggling and learning how to harness that to just show up, to make the work, and to feel confident in it, right? Like there's a lot of no's that you get when you're applying to stuff, whether it's residencies or grants. There's a lot of no's, and
Yeah,
it comes with the territory, and you just got to get up and keep going.
absolutely. I get you. Well, I want to say thank you so much for being a guest on the show
Absolutely. It's
today.
been a pleasure.
It's no, it's you just have time to like sit down and catch up. I don't go anywhere because there's like not tea, but some just stuff I'm gonna let you know after we close the
Okay.
show. But for those of you watching, as we get ready to wrap up, I'm gonna put up on the screen one more time where you can find Nashon. It's Nashon Joshua on IG.
Thank you all so much for tuning in. I can't see any of the comments or anything.
Oh, yeah.
So I apologize if I missed questions from you all, but thank you so much for tuning in. This has been a fantastic experience.
Oh, yeah. And then, yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Lastly, please donate. We are fundraising right now for our annual queer art exhibition coming up in June. And then outside of that, everyone, I want to thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to tune in. We have 2 episodes launching tomorrow. And then this episode, it's already up. You've seen it live, but it will be coming to you in podcast format in the coming weeks. Thank you all so much
Oh,
for
yeah.
watching.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, everybody.